Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the Jayden Bryce Show, the show where we talk about the latest, hottest topics in the world of sports. Had a great couple of days of sports, had some great baseball, had a great Monday night game that I could not wait to get to, but of course we had to wait till Wednesday. So, got a lot of things planned for you guys today. We're going to be discussing the Monday night action between the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Then we want to get to a little bit of baseball. Then we are going to get to Joe Flacco getting traded to the Cincinnati Bengals and how this could affect us seeing Shedeur Sanders on the football field very soon. Then, of course, the man that some may think I despise, but we are going to discuss Mr. LeBron James and his whole retirement scenario, shenanigans, whatever you would like to call it. I'm gonna give my 2 cents on that as well. But before we get into all that, as always, ladies and gentlemen, do not hesitate to like the podcast, share it to your friends and your family, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check out the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And without further ado, let's get right to the show. First up, we are going to discuss the Monday night action between the Jaguars and the Chiefs. I was very interested going into this game because this was like my favorite game of the weekend. Trevor Lawrence, the Prince, going up. Yes, I stole it from Nick Wright. I love it. Look, Nick Wright ain't copyright claimed the term, okay? So for me, he is the Prince as well. I call him the Prince who was promised because I was a huge Trevor Lawrence guy coming out of college and going into the draft. And we'll discuss this later, I still have just a teeny tiny bit of faith in the future for Trevor Lawrence. So we got Trevor Lawrence going up against Patrick Mahomes. The Jaguars at the time being 3-1. You know, they've beat some mad teams, but they played pretty decent football. They got one of the best defenses in the NFL. And a lot of people thought going into the game that the Chiefs could have stole this game because the Chiefs were 2-2. You needed a win. And the Chargers, they've lost 2 in a row. So this was prime positioning for the Chiefs to pretty much get back on track. And that didn't pretty much seem to be the case. And it was very weird because this wasn't a game that the Chiefs normally lose. Because when you have a game like this where Trevor Lawrence fumbles the ball at the end zone, they come up with no points. And Trevor Lawrence throws an interception, which I think should have been a defensive pass interference. But nonetheless, you get a defensive pass interference that was not called. The defense picks the ball off in your own end zone, and you get points out of that as well. Usually when the Chiefs have these type of games and get these types of turnovers, they normally come away with the win. And at the time, the Chiefs on their very last, their game-winning, should have been their game-winning drive, so to speak. They got the ball roughly with 8 minutes left. And I told myself, I was looking at the clock. And I remember looking at the clock and there was 6 minutes and 50 seconds left. And I told myself, and I was telling myself this at the time. I was saying, man, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time they're going to leave on the clock. Because at the rate the Chiefs were going, they were going to score around the 2-minute mark. And inevitably, that was the case. But in the same breath, it was like, okay, this is Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. What's the odds of Trevor Lawrence going down the field and scoring a touchdown? And guess what? That actually was the case. But to just talk about the Chiefs as a whole, let's just talk about Patrick Mahomes here. I thought Patrick Mahomes was really good. I thought he was great. He was efficient. Patrick Mahomes, he was 29 for 41, 318 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And I thought he played really good football. And outside of the one interception that he did have, granted that interception, in my opinion, was a great defensive play, because if y'all guys will go back and look at the play, essentially Devin Lloyd was running, he was under center, and he was kind of running like a mid zone, and he was strafing over real hard. So he was, I don't know how to explain this in football terms, because I'm not a football, I don't know these terms by heart. I don't know what the type of play would be called in football, but essentially it was a disguise type play where Devin Lloyd was on the line. It looked like he was blitzing, and he was kind of covered up, and Patrick Mahomes couldn't see him. And he ran back into a mid zone, like a hook curl in Madden. Got to the hook curl, and he was there, Johnny on the spot. Patrick Mahomes thought he had to slant down the middle, and Devin Lloyd picks it off and runs with a pick six. But I thought outside of that, Patrick Mahomes played very well. Let's see here. I don't know. Patrick Mahomes, he had a quarterback rating of 78. He had a passer rating of 91, average 7.8 yards per pass. I thought it was pretty good. Now, as a team, this is something else that was really, really weird as well. And this is something that should be deemed a bright spot for the Chiefs fans. You had almost 500 yards of offense. 500 yards of offense. But here's the negative. And this is the part of the reason why the Chiefs lost the game. Penalties. Granted, you can argue, it felt like the Chiefs got majority of the calls, but this wasn't the case. The Jaguars only had 4 penalties. The Chiefs had 13. And 4 of those penalties that the Chiefs had that were on defense gave the Jaguars first downs. So you can surmise that they were absolutely back-breaking penalties. You just cannot win football games that way, in no way, form, or fashion. Specifically, there in the final drive, and you have 43. He got back-to-back holding penalties on kickoff returns. Inexcusable. Even at the time, the Chiefs had 3 timeouts. You had under a minute to get at least a field goal. They could have done it if they would have got the ball roughly at the 35 or the 40 or even the 30. But then you're set up at your own 10-yard line just because of boneheaded penalties. You're just asking to lose the game. And it was something that the Chiefs normally aren't famous for, which is playing super undisciplined football. Now, to talk about their run game was actually very, very much better. Patrick Mahomes, he had 6 carries for 60 yards. Let's just finish this. 7 for 49 for Kareem Hunt. He averaged 7 yards a carry. And Pacheco had 7 for 36. But the thing that is wrong with the Chiefs that I don't understand for the life of me, that they cannot fix, is Patrick Mahomes week in, week out seems to be their leading rusher, which is not a recipe for success for the Chiefs. The last thing you want Patrick Mahomes doing is being your rushing leader on your ball club. That's just not in the best interest of the team in no way, form, or fashion. And let's move to the defense. Now, I didn't love the defensive pass interference in the end zone. It didn't, it was a bang-bang play, and obviously it was one of those penalties that gave the Jaguars pretty much like a bailout penalty, so to speak. But I didn't love the call, and I don't 100% fault the defense on this part. But we got to talk about that Chris Jones play. That was absolutely atrocious. And I tweeted it on Twitter. I was like, I didn't see the last play. Well, I didn't replay it, but I saw it live, and I to the life of me right now, I really do not understand how Trevor Lawrence was able to get out of that play. He slips on his own center's foot. He's on the floor. He stumbles a little bit more, and the Chiefs still could not get him on the ground. But then I was watching Talk Show Sports yesterday, and they were showing the replay of the final play. And Chris Jones was essentially just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. It was the worst thing that you could put on tape. It is not a good look for the Kansas City Chiefs. It is something that you are not accustomed to seeing by the Kansas City Chiefs. This is something that you would possibly see by worser teams and like franchises who don't know how to win or know anything about winning. But we know that the Kansas City Chiefs have always prided themselves on winning and pride themselves on playing to the best of their abilities and hustling. But that tape by Chris Jones, I wish I had the clip to show you. I'm not going to do that for the course of this podcast, but in your free time, at your own leisure, go look at it. It's absolutely atrocious. And if I'm Chris Jones, we cannot have that. You're the best defensive player on the team. You set the tone, and that is an indictment on what you allowed Trevor Lawrence and that team to do. And something else with the defense, not much of a pass rush. From a defensive perspective, how many sacks did they have? They had 3 sacks. Karlaftis had a half sack. Leo Chanel, he had a half sack. And yeah, Jalen Watson, he had a corner blitz sack, and Charles Omenihu had a sack. But even with those sack numbers, it really felt like the Chiefs could not get any pressure on Trevor Lawrence, specifically on that final drive. It seemed like Trevor Lawrence had all time to do whatever he wanted, and that is the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will be fine, and they will be able to still, even with this loss, I think they have a chance to compete and be able to win the division despite this loss, because the Chargers have a lot of glaring problems. And they've really lost 2 games that they shouldn't have. More or less the Giants game than the Commanders game. But I still think they got a shot. I think, I don't want to keep saying I think, but I'm not 100% sold on the Broncos, because when it comes to Bo Nix, I believe the Broncos has arguably got like a top 3 defense in the NFL. But Bo Nix is so hit and miss. And I just trust that when Rashee Rice gets here, this offense is going to be on another level. And I think when they see this tape specifically on defense, I think Coach Spags is going to get these guys together and they're going to play a whole lot, because the defense has been the bread and butter for the Chiefs so far. It's what has been working for 4 out of the 5 weeks outside of this game, because you let the Jaguars drop 24 points on you in the second half. So there it is. Now let's talk about the man of the hour, the man himself. Let's talk about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is someone who I have a lot of faith in still. I may be dumb for this, but I still believe in Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence in this game, let's just go over his stats here. He was 18 for 25. He threw for 225 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I don't count that interception against him, like I said, because I thought that was a defensive pass interference. Look, I know quarterbacks, they love to throw the ball to when they think the receiver is going to be there, but Trevor Lawrence, you got to see that safety there. I mean, that's just a bad throw still. But still, at the same breath, even though it was still a bad throw and a bad decision, you got to have that DPI, because 20, I think, what was it? 21, I think was roughly the number. He was the one that pushed. I think it was De'Ami Brown who was running around. Or no, it was number 11. It was Parker Washington. Parker Washington was running the slant, and I think it was 21 who pushed him mid-route, and then James Cook just picks the ball off. But outside of that, Trevor Lawrence was really, really, really well. And you saw the things that make you want to come back into believing Trevor Lawrence, because we saw things like the athletic gifts, that final throw on the final drive on 3rd and 7, basically a needed throw, gotta have it. Trevor Lawrence threw the ball on a dime, tight window. Brian Robinson beats the corner. I don't even know. I think they were running cover 2, if I'm not mistaken. And on that fade route, Trevor Lawrence threw it in the only spot the defense couldn't get it, and only Brian Robinson could. Those are the type of throws that Trevor Lawrence makes that makes you want to come back. It was your needed type throw. But he also does boneheaded mistakes that I think Cohen can fix. And now the boneheaded mistakes are like the worst of the worst. Like, he does things like this. You have the delay of games. You have, which is something that I don't understand for the life of me that he does. Trevor Lawrence loves throwing the ball over the down marker, over the line of scrimmage, not a down marker, over the line of scrimmage. He's done it like 2 times in the last 3 weeks. He is the only quarterback that I have seen do this. I've not seen multiple times throughout a week. I've not seen a quarterback throw the ball over the line of scrimmage more than how many times Trevor Lawrence has. It has been absolutely mind-boggling to me with that. And the turnovers with the interception. And it's not in this game. I don't want to count that interception against them as well. But it's the games prior to that. The games against the Cincinnati Bengals where he throws the pick that loses you the game. Those are the type of things that Trevor Lawrence does, which is something that he didn't do in college. And I don't want to count the stupid jump over play, which can teams just stop this? I'm not a fan of, and the Bills have quit it with Josh Allen. I know they started to do it with Josh Allen, but I have not seen them do it since. I hate the play where you catch the ball under center on a 1-yard line and you just have your 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" quarterback just reach over and just try and reach for the goal line in midair in front of the defense, where all the linebacker has to do is that and just pat the ball out of Trevor Lawrence's hands, and that's what inevitably happened. Can we please, Liam Cohen, can you just scratch that play out of the playbook? Just run a sneak, tug the ball in, and just run in the end zone for 6. That's all you got to do. We don't need no jumping over because it forces turnovers. It's the easiest way to get a turnover. And it just irks the life of me when I see that stupid play. But I think this is something that Liam Cohen can fix. Granted, Dave Canales was the original first offensive coordinator under Baker Mayfield in his first year in Tampa. But on another note, when Dave Canales left, it seemed like last year Baker Mayfield was even on if not the same level, but on a higher level under Liam Cohen as the offensive coordinator in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we see that Baker Mayfield has been able to translate those skills after Liam Cohen has left. So now that Liam Cohen is here, he has led the Jaguars to a 4-1 record. And I think with a talent, you can't deny it. Trevor Lawrence is one of the most talented individuals at the quarterback position that has came out of the draft in the last 10, 15 years. He is up there with the Josh Allens. Granted, he's not as he can't run. He don't have the running that Lamar and Josh Allen has and Patrick Mahomes. But when it just comes to pure physicality pertaining to his how tall he is, the arm strength, the zip and power he has on strong arm, Trevor Lawrence has that. And he was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. And I have faith that Trevor Lawrence can take the next step because we've seen it before. The Prince who was promised when he I'm gonna call it the J Bowl, the Jayden Bryce Bowl. My 2 favorite quarterback, arguably one of my 2 favorite quarterbacks to watch in the NFL. In Trevor, yes, I love watching Trevor Lawrence. I just love watching Trevor Lawrence. Period. I just love how he throws the football. But I essentially want to call it the Jayden Bryce Bowl, where you had Justin Herbert versus Trevor Lawrence 4 years ago in the playoffs, and Trevor Lawrence comes back 21-0 in the second half and leads his team at home to a playoff victory in the wild card round. We've seen him do it before, and we know that he can perform in the playoffs. So why, under Liam Cohen, now that the Jaguars are 4-1, why is this not time now for Trevor Lawrence to get it done? It is go time. And let's just take a quick look at the Jaguars' schedule. They face Seattle this week. That is going to be a good one. That's not going to be an easy win. They face the Rams. They got Vegas, Houston, Chargers, Cardinals, Titans, Colts. Got the Colts twice. You still got the Broncos to play. And you have Tennessee. This schedule is not the easiest, but it is still doable. You're 4-1. You could, let's just say, in the next 2 weeks, you got absolutely brutal teams to play. You got the Rams and Seattle. And you play the Rams overseas. So this is going to be a neutral site. Even if you lose the next 2 games, let's just say the Jacksonville Jaguars go 4-3. I think they're going to beat the Raiders 5-3. They're going to beat Houston. That's 7-3. No, that's 6-3. They can beat the Chargers, but I'm gonna give them a loss. So that's 6-4. The Cardinals, they can beat the Cardinals. 7-4. Titans, they're gonna beat the Titans both times. What's that? 7-4. You gonna trade with Indy. So I give them a win at home. 8-5. You're gonna beat the Jets. 9-5. At Denver, that's a close one. I'm gonna give you a loss there. That's 6-7. I got them possibly at the most. At the most is 7 losses. So at 9-7 in the AFC that is wide open could possibly get you in the playoffs, but that is just if they lose the next 2 weeks. Surely they could beat Seattle, and I think they could beat the Rams in a neutral site. And they could possibly beat the Chargers. This is just that is just 7 losses, surely. I love their defense. I love what they got going on defense. And the sky's the limit for Trevor Lawrence. And I know I've already been talking about this for 20 minutes, and we're going to move on because I don't want to spend too much time on this topic. But, yeah. The Jaguars are for real. Their defense is good enough to compete with anybody. They're like a top 5 defense playing right now in the NFL. And basically, however far they go is on the hands of Trevor Lawrence. If Trevor Lawrence plays turnover-free football, if he can basically turn into what Josh Allen has turned into, where the turnovers have became very rare, Trevor Lawrence can be very successful under Liam Cohen, and they can win a lot of ball games. Now, let's move on to our very next topic. Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is... and I meant to talk about Travis Hunter. I got it in my notes, but we'll discuss Travis Hunter in another. We'll say that for another podcast. Let's just move on. Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was traded to the Cincinnati Bengals over the on Tuesday, and I'm trying to see the compensation here. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to make sure I get the right compensation here. Let's see. He is starting, so that's something that we are going to discuss as well. So here's the exact compensation when it comes to Joe Flacco. I don't know why I didn't have this ready for you guys, but here. So Joe Flacco, the Bengals traded The Bengals acquired quarterback Joe Flacco and a 2026 6th-round draft pick from the Cleveland Browns for Cincinnati's 26th 5th-round draft choice. And in the process, the Bengals have released quarterback Brett Ripken. Now, so basically, the Bengals got Joe Flacco and a 6th-round pick, and Cleveland got a 5th round pick. I don't really like. I think you should just you should have just gave him Joe Flacco, and then you got like a 6th round pick in return. I understand why they had to get rid of a 6th round pick as well, because Joe Flacco is not really good enough just to Joe Flacco isn't good enough, is not worth of just a 5th round pick. If anything, Joe Flacco is worth a 7th round pick at best. But I see why you got that conversation. Now, it is announced that Joe Flacco is going to start this upcoming week. And who is it the Bengals play? Let's look at their schedule right fast. I think the Bengals, they play Green Bay. That is absolutely brutal. At Green Bay, at Lambeau Field. That is just not a great first game. Not the first game that you want to have if you're Joe Flacco. But what do I make of this move for the Bengals? I don't love it. I thought Joe Flacco has been absolutely bad like all year. And let's just look at Joe Flacco's stats right now. Joe Flacco in 2025, he has a completion percentage. Hold on, it's a little too big for me. We're just going to do it off this. He has a completion percentage of 58.1%. He has thrown for 815 yards. He has 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a passer rating of 60. He has been absolutely atrocious in every single way, form, or fashion. He has not been throwing the ball to any of his wide receivers. Jerry Jeudy, bless his heart. Judkins, Dylan Sampson, David Njoku, Fannin Jr., the rookie, bless their hearts. Now that they got Dylan Gabriel, they were able to get a ball. And granted, I know this for myself just because I have David Njoku on my fantasy team along with Dylan Sampson and Quinyon Judkins. So I have a couple of Browns on my fantasy team. So I know that they haven't been getting the ball, and I've watched some of these games, and I just cannot watch the Browns with Joe Flacco at quarterback. It's just, Joe Flacco has just not seemed to capture the magic that he got 2 years ago when he was the backup for the Browns, when Deshaun Watson got hurt, and the Browns seemed to not miss a beat at all, and were able to lead them to a playoff run. And even in the playoff game, he was absolutely abysmal in the playoff game. But, they were able to do stuff with Joe Flacco at quarterback. But it seems like since then, Joe Flacco has just not been it. After this year, I mean, Joe Flacco's been in the league forever. Let's see what season this is going to be for Joe Flacco. Geez Louise, his first year was in 2008. So he spent 11 seasons with the Ravens, 1 with the Broncos, 1 with Philly, 3 in New York, 1 with Indianapolis, and 2 in Cleveland. So 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 19. So this is his 19th season in the NFL. 18th, 19th season in the NFL. And, Joe Flacco, in comparison to players like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, he's never going to be a Hall of Famer. So, if anything, his career is further out the door than anything. And also, Joe Flacco has a quarterback rating of 27.6, which ranks 31st among quarterbacks in 2025. He's thrown for 815 yards, which is 26th. He's tied for 36 in touchdowns and 61st in interceptions. So Joe Flacco has been absolutely abysmal. I really would have preferred the Bengals to have got somebody like Jameis Winston, maybe even Russell Wilson. I feel like that's a better option because if you're the Bengals are really still sitting pretty. Their schedule isn't the worst. So you would think, and one would surmise, that the Bengals would have preferred a quarterback that would have been good enough for them to compete and continue to compete for a playoff run, because you're still going to have to play your own division, and that's absolutely brutal to begin with, just to start off. But you still get to play the Jets, you get to play Chicago, you get to play Miami, Arizona. I mean, their schedule is not easy, because outside of their division, they got to play Green Bay, they got to play New England, they got to play Buffalo, and you got to. So you got like 3 tough out of division games, and your division games themselves going to be brutal, and you're already sitting at 2-3. You got three straight losses. So I don't think Joe Flacco is the answer. I imagine that Joe Flacco is going to do more of what he was doing in Cleveland, just absolutely stinking it up. Now, maybe since this time he's got actual weapons. I mean, you have a Jamar Chase to throw to. You have a T. Higgins to throw to. Chase Brown in the backfield, he's a pretty good back. But I thought that somebody like Jameis Winston would have been a preferably better option. He at least provides fireworks on the offensive side of the ball, which is what you need. And even Russell Wilson probably would have been better. Or any other type of young quarterback. Heck, maybe even Shedeur Sanders. But we know the Browns were not going to give up Shedeur Sanders. Now let's move on to the main man himself. Then this is what the topic is truly about. What does this mean for Shedeur Sanders? Shedeur Sanders gets one step closer to the apple. When you make a move like this, if you are the Cleveland Browns, you're pretty much sure that Shedeur Sanders could possibly be your guy. And there was an article that recently came out last week. I don't know if it was written by Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or whoever, that seemingly stated that many NFL execs in the league think that Shedeur Sanders has a shot to lace them up and suit up and take snaps under center as quarterback one at some point in the season. Let's just think about that. Now, granted, Dillon Gabriel, he played okay, didn't turn the ball over, but he didn't make enough plays to ultimately win the game, and you still lost to a pretty depleted Minnesota Vikings roster led by Carson Wentz. And that is something that Cleveland fans should not be happy about. And in the end, I don't think, and you're talking to somebody who does not like Dillon Gabriel at all. I've never been in love with Dillon Gabriel. I didn't like him in college. I didn't think he would even be drafted as high as he was. What was Dillon Gabriel? A third round pick? Way too high. I don't even think he was that good enough. And I thought overall that Shedeur Sanders was and still is the better prospect. I just think Shedeur Sanders, specifically in the preseason, was dealt a pretty bad hand. In this case, now Shedeur Sanders is quarterback too, so he gets one step closer into being, the quarterback one on the roster. Now, something in the Browns' perspective that I do not understand. I don't understand why you start Joe Flacco and then you want to trade him all of a sudden for 5 games into the season. You essentially wasted time into allowing Dillon Gabriel or even Shedeur Sanders a shot at competing for the quarterback one role in the preseason in training camp. I guess you wanted to use him as a mentor role. But I imagine at practice, there wasn't a whole lot that Joe Flacco was showing you at practice that would argue him to be the bona fide quarterback one for your ball club. You just cannot convince me. I don't imagine there is anything that Joe Flacco was showing at practice to surmise him being the quarterback one for your ball team. I don't understand it. And we saw what he done with the Colts when he got in there. It was not good. You see what Daniel Jones has been able to do with that same exact roster. Daniel Jones has been able to play some football. So obviously, that is an indictment on Joe Flacco. But I digress. I don't think Shedeur Sanders will start at any point in the next 5 to 6 weeks. I think the only way that Shedeur Sanders sees the ball field is if Dillon Gabriel absolutely plays god-awful football. That's the only way. Because I don't think the Browns organization really wants the headache with Shedeur Sanders starting at quarterback. I don't think they do. Because I don't even think the owner truly, really wanted to draft Shedeur Sanders. I think that was a Kevin Stefanski last-minute call with the GM. And we also, and I talked about it in the past, we all saw the viral clip with the owner and Kevin Stefanski reacting to drafting Shedeur Sanders. It was looking like pretty much they could care less. But if you're talking about a Cleveland Brown fan base who is absolutely hurting, you have not won anything since Jim Brown 60 years ago, you're clamoring for just some sizzle. Deshaun Watson was not able to provide that. Shedeur Sanders brings that. Does he bring unwanted attention? Absolutely. But it's attention, period. And it is something that you need in the NFL. Jerry Jones is bringing to Dallas. You got it with Taylor Swift, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. You got it in Kansas City. You got it in Josh Allen in Buffalo. Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. All these teams have sizzle, and the reason why you want to watch them. At this point, what makes you want to watch the Browns? I don't want to watch the Browns. I only want to watch the Browns in the hopes of possibly seeing Shedeur Sanders possibly get his chance at quarterback one. That's essentially it, and the reason why I would only want to watch the Browns. But the Bengals, just to get back to them real fast, I think the Bengals are cooked. If you couldn't do anything with Jake Browning, which for some odd reason, to this day, as I'm talking to you guys, I really don't understand the struggles when pertaining to Jake Browning. He was very efficient a couple years ago when Joe Burrow messed up his wrist. But it seems now Jake Browning just forgot how to play football. And he just couldn't do absolutely anything on the offensive end of the floor. I just want to go over Jake Browning's stats just right quick because I know they're absolutely atrocious. So Jake Browning, he has 757 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 35, which ranks 29th in the league. And he has a passer rating of 70. He's just been absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. And God bless T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, because it's not going to get any better. It's just not. Not for a long time. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. It's a horrendous situation on both ways. I think the Browns mismanaged Joe Flacco even starting. He should have just been playing mentor and allowed Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders to get a bite of the apple. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals could have got a whole better option than what they got. Now let's move on into some basketball. Well, yes, I'm talking basketball, and we're moving on from football. And I'm going to be talking some baseball and basketball, but we're going to talk about some basketball right fast. So if you guys were living under a rock, LeBron James announced on Monday his second decision. And if you guys were not aware, which all of this happened when I was young, I was a kid at the time when LeBron James was announcing his decision. Because if I'm not mistaken, LeBron James went to went to the Heat roughly, 2010, 2009, 2010. And in the ad, he was wearing his old outfit from when he made the first decision. And the decision is one of the most pivotal moments in the history of sports. It is widely known as that. So LeBron James, if you guys, if you're not aware, a lot of people were many speculating his retirement, and people were buying up tickets to go see him play like opening night. I got here, the cheapest ticket was $445 when at first originally it was $85. So there was a $300 plus price increase on tickets just because LeBron James possibly teasing his retirement. But as we are all aware, that obviously was not the case. LeBron James, it was an advertisement for his partnership with Hennessey. And what can I say? Was this a bad look for LeBron James? Was it a good idea? I saw Stephen A this morning. Steve, it's hard to take anything. You got to kind of take what Stephen A says now with LeBron James with a grain of salt, because of the histrionics that they have between the two right now with their whole beef. I had a pleasant time myself covering it. But let's just put them to the side. Let's just give me I'm going to put them to the side. I'm going to give my full interpretation of this. Number one, let me say this. I knew he wasn't going to retire. And if anything, and I'll discuss it anyways. I'll discuss that later on. Let's just start with this. I didn't think he was going to retire. I really didn't. I think when LeBron retires, I think it is going to be, he's going to make it like a celebration. I think LeBron will announce roughly, let's see, the preseason started now in October. I think after the NBA Finals, roughly in August, I think LeBron will go ahead and announce that this upcoming season is going to be his last season. And I do think that LeBron's got 2 years left, max. I think after this year, next season is going to be it. He's going to pull a Kobe Bryant. He's just going to announce it, and he's going to be celebrated. And I think LeBron James deserves that, and I think it's going to be the smart thing to do on his end. Now, I thought, and you got two lenses to look at this. In one lens, it was absolutely phenomenal marketing by LeBron James. Absolutely phenomenal. Just the idea of the price jump from $445 for the cheapest ticket from $85. And there's no telling how much money the Lakers could have made off of the tickets for opening night at the Laker game. After this ad and all the stuff going on, there's no telling how much revenue. I would love to see the money that they make, what they're going to make off that night game with the prices they have now in comparison to like last year's opening game, and just compare the two, or just maybe just compare their like average highest accumulation of money they made off tickets, off of a big game that they, or a random game in the middle of the season. I would love to see the price differences between the two, because a jump from 445, a jump from 85 to 445 is absolutely crazy. Rob Pelinka and Jeanie Buss and all them, the Buss family, everyone who is in partnership with the Lakers. And I think, am I not mistaken? Y'all, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the Lakers are in the process of are they getting sold? Or did they already get sold? I'm not quite 100% sure. But either way, everyone involved with ownership, anyone who has a stake right now in the Lakers are like, thank you, LeBron. But in the other lens, let's think about it in this lens. Let's think about the consumer. LeBron, come on, bro. Come on, bro. And y'all know me. I'm not going to kill the man. Granted, y'all, if you're not aware, I'm like one of the biggest LeBron James absolute haters that you can find. I am not a LeBron James guy. I am Michael Jordan till I die. You could probably say I'm Stephen A 2.0 when it comes to LeBron. I just absolutely despise LeBron. I don't like anything about LeBron. I respect him and I thank him for everything that he's done in the league. And I respect him as a player, but as a person and an individual, I was never a fan. Never have been a fan. And I'm not a fan to this day. But from a consumer standpoint, LeBron, you're not doing the NBA fan any favors. I saw where Jamel Hill, and she's another person I despise, she was commenting on the ticket prices, and she was complaining about, everybody complaining about cheap tickets and nobody wants to go to a WNBA game. First of all, Jamel Hill, let me just shut my mouth before I get myself in trouble. We're not going to go down that road. Jamel Hill was essentially complaining about ticket prices and how everybody don't want to go to games now because of ticket prices. LeBron, nobody wants to go watch you play when you're not like, there's going to be no special celebration or anything like that. Nobody wants to watch you play for $448 or $445, excuse me, in the nosebleeds, bro. Nobody wants to go watch the Lakers on whatever night they're playing, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, whenever, Friday night. I don't know what date opening night is. I imagine it's normally like on a Tuesday or maybe even a Friday. I don't know. But nobody in Tinseltown, Los Angeles, California. I don't know why I just said California like that. But anyways, you get the gist. Nobody wants to watch in the nosebleeds. Granted, I've never been to Crypto.com Arena. I'd rather call it Staples Center. Nobody has been to the Crypt. Shout out Shannon Sharp. Nobody wants to go to the Crypt and watch the Lakers play for absolutely just a regular game for $445 in the nosebleeds. And granted, as much as with the taxes and stuff, where everything, the inflation that is on another level out there in Los Angeles, this is just an extra slap in the face to an average fan who just wants to go watch a ball game. Opening night, I don't even know who the Lakers play opening night, but that's another lens to look at it. It's kind of like, LeBron, it probably wasn't a smart idea just for your fan base, just for the average football, for the average basketball fan's point of view. Now, let's get to another idea that I thought about as well when I was thinking about this. If anything, I thought this could have possibly been a trade. Because I've covered it before, and we all remember the article that came out by Shams Charania and I'm paraphrasing here, Shams was pretty much saying and conveying that LeBron James will open the door to want to leave Los Angeles if they didn't improve the roster, and basically if they cannot contend for a championship in the West. That was pretty much paraphrasing what LeBron James was going to do in this upcoming season. And there was a whole lot of stuff going on as well about, LeBron doesn't have the best trade value, this and that old type of thing. There's a whole lot of stuff going on with that as well. But we're not going to get into that. But let's just think about it. This is my other argument. I thought, if anything, it could have been a trade because of what I just stated. But when you look around the league, why would you want to leave? This is a Lakers roster. Granted, the Lakers are not the best roster of all time. You got Luka Doncic. You got rid of Anthony Davis, which I don't know if that is going to be able to be a long-term fantastic decision by the Lakers. But let's just give a quick look at this roster. You got DeAndre Ayton, which is a guy who was pretty good for the Suns at the time when they were making that finals push with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. So that is a big that you really needed, and it's somebody that you really ideally would have loved to have gotten with Anthony Davis, so Anthony Davis could play the 4. But you get a big man for Luka Doncic, which is part of Luka Doncic's game, to where you're able to get, the pick and play type action that Luka Doncic like to play with your big. So you get that big in DeAndre Ayton. Of course, you got Luka. Rui's still there. Jackson Hayes, Maxi Kleber, Dalton Connect, Austin Reeves, Marcus Smart, which is another ball handler that you add to the ball club, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, and that pretty much rounds up your starting roster. You got some G League players here like Bronny James, and they're obviously not going to be on the team. So there's your roster. This is not a roster right now that I can arguably say that is going to contend. Because when you just look, mind you guys, when you just look at the West, and I'm trying to look up some teams here. This thing is not letting me want to. I'm over here trying to look up something in the NBA, but I guess I'll have to do it this way. Just give me 1 second. Let's just think about some teams here. Well, you got teams in your own conference. You have teams like the Mavericks. When they have, ideally, a top 3, one of the top 3, top 5 teams to be able to contend. When you got Anthony Davis, you got Kyrie. He's going to be back at one point off your ACL. You got Daniel Gafford, Cooper Flagg, your number 1 overall pick. Derek Lively. You got all those players. That's the Mavericks. What about the Spurs? Wemby, De'Aaron Fox. They're going to be a 1-2 combo, and you got that draft pick that they got as well. And I think it's Ron Harper's son. Cannot quite remember the kid's name, but they say he could be possibly a stud. And you got that to worry about. You got the Houston Rockets with Kevin Durant. And granted, they lost Fred VanVleet. That is a huge hit for them. And you got to worry about Jokic and Jamal Murray and the different Nuggets. The defending NBA Finals champs in Shea and the Oklahoma City Thunder. You got to think about my man, Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards down there in Minnesota. They're going to be a problem. You can't never count on the Warriors and Steph Curry. That's my team. That's one of my favorite teams to watch. So in your own division, I think all of those teams themselves stack up better against the Lakers. Maybe not the Warriors, but definitely, I think the Mavericks, the Rockets, the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, and the Thunder, right now as we speak, off the top of my head, are better rosters right now than the Lakers. So that's 5 teams. So granted, you got 5 more extra spots because now the play-in, you get 10 teams. So if you're a 10 seed, you have a chance to compete for a play-in. So you're in that type of realm of playoff contention. But when you think about that, why would you leave? The only reason why that you would possibly want to leave is if you could get on a team like the New York Knicks or the Minnesota Timberwolves, go back to Cleveland, or possibly Orlando. Those are the teams that I think that could give up the compensation enough to be able to want to trade for LeBron James. But in my opinion, it's just better to stay in LA for the fame, for the marketing opportunities, and you pretty much get to play with a superstar in Luka Doncic. I don't think LeBron James is going to end his career off and compete for a championship in LA. If LA wants to compete for a championship, they got to make a lot of moves at the trade deadline. But he's not going to leave LA. He's going to end his career in a Lakers uniform. It's in the best interest. His son's still there as well. I think that's possibly another factor to reason why he's not going to leave. And this is just, in the end, this is just LeBron being LeBron. Stephen A says this is the only way that he can be, what's the word, that he can get the headlines still, or still be, what's the word I'm looking for? Still be the talk of the town, so to speak. But I don't want to go that far and say that. I still think LeBron James, even without this, is still relevant. And he's still the best basketball player in the NBA. But, there's positives and negatives to the Hennessey ad. And there's my perspective on that. All right, let's move away from LeBron James. Now we're going to talk some baseball. Yes, I'm about to expand my palette here. This was the purpose of the podcast. And I know you guys can possibly tell that by the way I'm just slurring my speech a little bit here. Y'all just forgive me with that right fast. I'm still, I'm working out a new function here. I've been using my sister's iPad to help me with stats and stuff while I talk to you guys, so I can keep my stuff on the screen here. But let's keep this train pumping. Let's talk about the baseball last night. And, and we're going to talk about the Yankees. Guys, I have to be totally transparent. Like, playoff baseball, and I texted this to my girlfriend last night. Playoff baseball is just absolutely phenomenal. In every way, form, or fashion. If you were up last night watching this game, hearing the call by the play-by-play on the Fox broadcast, I cannot, is it Ian Eagle or something like that? I cannot quite fully remember the fellow's name. But that call, when Aaron Judge hit that home run, and there he is right here at the bottom of the screen, right here. Woo! There he is. I can't believe I'm cheering. I'm happy about the Yankees. Oh my God, I feel so disgusted doing this. But, and I had to be just totally transparent. Let me just take these off. I really, really, really enjoyed watching the game last night. I had a phenomenal time. I thought it was a phenomenal game. And playoff baseball is absolutely, truly magical. Now let's get to the game itself. This story of this game yesterday, and the reason why I wanted to talk about it is, of course, the Bronx Bomber himself, Aaron Judge. We know the success that Aaron Judge has been able to have in the regular season, but he has not been able to translate that into postseason success. Roughly, I don't have it here. I don't want to look it up and just keep stalling, but for the last couple seasons, Aaron Judge is roughly batted around under 200 in the playoffs. I've always considered Aaron Judge the Dak Prescott pretty much of baseball. Granted, Aaron Judge is way better, light years better in his sport than Dak Prescott is. Because you can say Aaron Judge in comparison to just talent level and how good he is in his own sport, he's basically the Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen of baseball. That's how he's like the best player in baseball. But he has just never been able to have postseason success. And when I was looking at his numbers before I started, Aaron Judge roughly has not had a fantastic over 300 batting average in the postseason since 2017. So it has been a long, long run since the last time he's been successful. And last night, it was just absolutely sensational to finally see Aaron Judge have some postseason success. It just absolutely warmed my heart, even though I despise the Yankees. But I think it's in the best interest of baseball for the fans of the Yankees and just fans of baseball in general to see Aaron Judge compete and be successful in the playoffs. It offers the best product, and it's just best for the game. To see your best players be great. Aaron Judge right now, currently, is batting .500 in the playoffs. He's been absolutely phenomenal in this series. Racking up hits, playing great defense, made a couple diving plays last night. Flashing the glove as well. The home run. You're down 3-6. Runners on first and second. I think there was one out. Ball 100 miles per hour inside. And he steps out, gets the bat on the inside, doesn't allow it to get deep into his hands, takes it to left field, hits the foul pole. And I was just sitting there on the edge of my seat. I was like, did he finally do it? Did he just finally make a big play? And he did. And it was a momentum shifter, is what the Yankees needed. And it added on and added on. Jazz Chisholm got him a home run to break away to 7-6, and it was all she wrote from there. And it was just finally just amazing to see Aaron Judge have playoff success. It was absolutely phenomenal and beautiful to see. But another guy I want to talk about as well is Vladimir Guerrero. Vladimir Guerrero has been absolutely murdering the Yankees right now. He's batting .615. He has 8 hits and 3 home runs in the playoffs period, not just this series, but just in the postseason period. Vladimir Guerrero is batting .615 with 3 home runs and 8 hits. 3 of those 8 hits have been home runs. That's absolutely insane. And Ken Rosenthal wrote an article like basically the day of the game yesterday, and everybody was talking about it, and even he brought it up in the broadcast on Fox. And Ken Rosenthal was like, what Vladimir Guerrero did in game 2 is what Yankees fans and what the Yankees should feel like Aaron Judge should be doing, and it's something that Aaron Judge has never done. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if Aaron Judge heard that noise and was like, all right, I'm going to show y'all who I am. Boom, boom. And just laid it on the Blue Jays last night. What an offensive clinic. And game 4 is tonight. I cannot wait to tune into it roughly at 7 o'clock. I'll be in church, but I'm still going to keep it with the game. So, Cam Schleitner is going to be on the bump. He was the young gun that closed it out against Boston. He pitched 8 innings and only gave up 5 hits. He had 12 Ks. And this is going to be a bullpen game, essentially, for the Blue Jays. So I definitely have the Yankees taking this game. I think Cam is going to pitch an absolute gem. And I think that the Yankees train is going to be rolling. And I think that they're going to take it to Toronto. Now, we saw how well the Blue Jays were able to play in Toronto. But the Yankees in that second game were able to get some hits and muster up some hits. And if the Yankees can, I don't know who the Yankees, I doubt they're going to be able to throw their best arm. Max Fried, I don't know if he's going to be available. I just don't know. You know, they've been hitting the Yankees pitching pretty good. They better not bring in Weaver. Everybody hates that dude right now for the Yankees. He cannot pitch good right now. And yeah. You're going to have the ride to bat off of Devin Williams, Cam Schleitner, Camilo Duvall. Those are going to have to be your guys coming out of the bullpen. So that's going to be the recipe for success. And I think, period, if the Yankees want to win Game 5, I think they're going to win tonight. They're going to win Game 4. But if the Yankees want to win Game 5, they are going to have to put up an offensive clinic in Game 5. I don't foresee no way, form, or fashion that the Yankees are going to be able to pitch successfully in Game 5. And also, another reason and a thing to think about as well is the Yankees are going to be ready. Sorry, the Blue Jays are going to be ready to play if they lose back-to-back games. They're going to be ready to hit and ready to make a statement at home. So that is my thoughts on the Blue Jays and the Yankees. I have the Yankees winning tonight, and I cannot wait and look forward to the game. Now let's move on into my LA Dodgers. All right, those are my guys. We're going to talk some baseball. I'm going to talk about my favorite team, darn it. My favorite team is the LA Dodgers. Now, I about had an absolute heart attack watching this game. Y'all, for the life of me, I'm telling y'all, I almost had an absolute heart attack watching this game. You were up 4-0, or was it 4-1? I think it was 4-0. We were up 4-0, and we get the lead. I was at a meeting at the time, and it was rough for me to, watch the game back and forth. So I was keeping up with it fairly well. And I was trying to watch the football game at the same time on Monday night as well. It was like a recipe for disaster. I was at a meeting. I couldn't watch multi-view on my phone. So I couldn't just consume both games at the same time. And, 8th inning, of course, was just something that is going historically bad this season for the Dodgers, for some odd reason, 8th inning, they just fall apart. And the bullpen absolutely blows. Don't even get me started with them. But, they only give up the 1 run. And here we go to the 9th inning. 4-1. They allow, Trinan comes in, absolutely gets shellacked outside of the 1 hit that he gave up to Castellanos, which was absolutely bull crap. And so the Phillies are rallying, and it's 4-3. And I'm like, oh my gosh. We bring in Vesia. Vesia, gets some outs. Gets the bunt. The bunt play by Max Muncy and Mookie Betts was absolutely phenomenal to get Nick Castellanos out at third base. Absolutely phenomenal defensive play. And Roki Sasaki, my guy, who struggled early on in the season, went to AAA. Saw an interesting article that Jeff Passan published a couple weeks ago talking about how Roki Sasaki, he wasn't showing his best stuff, and ever since he had his rough start in the beginning of the season, they've brought him back. The Dodgers were confident enough in him to bring him back, getting ready for the playoffs, and turned him, instead of a starting pitcher, into a closer, and he has been absolutely phenomenal. He comes in and gets that last batter. He gets Trey Turner to ground out to second base, and my heart rate got super high because for some odd reason, and for the life of me, I got a brain fart. I can't even remember his doggone name. Jeez Louise. Y'all give me 1 second. What is his name? Our switch hitting guy. Holy cow. How did I forget his name? Oh, this is absolutely embarrassing. Oh, this is so bad. Give me a minute. Roster. Jesus. Oh, what is his name? He's our switch hitter. He plays second. Oh, God, this is so embarrassing. I know my team like the back of my hand, and I have an absolute brain fart right now. Tommy Edman. Jesus. I know Tommy Edman fills the ball at second base, and short hops it. Short. Freddie Freeman has to pick it off the ground. I didn't know if he got the ball or not. I was like, oh my gosh, please tell me he got it. But he did. So that's great to see as well. But tonight, will they complete the sweep? I do think so. And this is not being biased because I'm going to give you the numbers here. I'm a numbers man. I love the numbers. They're throwing Aaron Cole tonight. The Phillies are. And this year, for the Phillies, in the National League, I think this should be the National League, or this might be the league as a whole. Aaron Nola is 0-6 right now on the road. I don't know if this is against LA or not. This is just the numbers that ESPN has given me. This might be against LA. But let's just take it if this is against LA or against the NL or the league period. But right now, they're giving me that Aaron Nola is 0-6 on the road, and he has almost a 7 ERA. Oh my gosh. ERA. Absolutely abysmal. And versus the Dodgers, he's played 1 game. He threw 6 innings. He gave up 7 hits, 3 runs, 2 home runs, and only struck out the Dodgers twice. So he's had a lot of success. Sorry. The Dodgers have had a lot of success against Aaron Nola. See, when I try to talk new stuff, this is why I'm trying to expand my palette here. I'm trying to just expand my knowledge when it comes to sports, talk about on multiple topics. And I'm over here slurring my words. Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to expand my palette here. Let's talk about Yoshinobu Yamamoto, my guy. Versus the Phillies, played 1 game. He's through six innings. He only gave up 3 hits, had 5 Ks. So he was very successful. He's got 3 wins at home, 4 losses, and he has a 3 ERA. And it is telling me right now that the Dodgers is pretty much going for the kill punch. You're throwing Yamamoto tonight. He's your best arm so far as a starter. If you're throwing him game 3, you are absolutely positive that you can win tonight and that you're going to get the win. It's the only way. I think Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, which is somebody who needs to fix the defense. He's been lollygagging a lot on defense the last couple of nights. Luckily, he came up with a clutch hit in game 1. But Teoscar, get it together on defense. His defense in this playoffs has been absolutely abysmal. Just absolutely horrendous. But Teoscar, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, all the guys got the best batting lineup in the league. Don't even forget about the man Shohei Ohtani. So we're set up for success. and Bryce Harper and Trey Turner. I saw an interesting tweet, and I don't know if I saved it or not, but he covers Philadelphia sports, and I don't know if I doubt I saved it. I'm just gonna look right fast to see if I did. Obviously, I didn't. But essentially, it was going over basically, I think it was Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, and Kyle Schwarber. They're like hits together. I saw vividly that Kyle Schwarber from the playoffs, and this is before game. I don't know if this was after game 2, they say this, or before game 2 going into game 2. But essentially, they were saying that Kyle Schwarber is like 0 for his last 20 since the regular season. So Kyle Schwarber has been absolutely abysmal. And Trey Turner and Bryce Harper themselves has not been good at all. Like, horrendous. And, Bryce Harper has been in a lot of interviews this week already talking about how it is so hard to... Sorry, let me rephrase this. The reporters were asking him, is it super hard to play in the bank? And Bryce Harper was just downplaying it. He's just saying that he's not playing well. I digress. But the Phillies have not been playing well. And Dodger Stadium is going to be rocking. They're going to be ready to play tonight. And if the Phillies couldn't do it at home, I don't know if they're definitely not going to be able to do it 2 straight games against LA. The series is definitely in the hand for the Dodgers. The Dodgers has to win 1 of the next 3 games. And I think they're definitely going to do one at home. And I think tonight is definitely going to be the night that they get it done. I think Shohei has a home run. And I think it's going to be an absolute bloodbath when it comes to hitting. Because the Dodgers are due. They got a couple of hits last game, but I think the Dodgers are due for a 8, 9, 10 run game. And I think they're going to get it tonight. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all that I have for today. It was a good, fun show. I enjoyed talking some baseball and some basketball with you guys. I talked about some different topics. I got a new little format going here, and I really enjoyed it. I got my stats here on my iPad instead of having to look on my computer and see that I can make sure my stream and all that's just going absolutely phenomenal. But I hope you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the podcast, check the podcast out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I don't know when I'm going to see you guys again. Hopefully, I can see you guys again on Friday. I got a very busy day on Friday. I got to officiate my very first varsity game on Friday night. So if I do get to y'all Friday, it will have to be around the afternoon time, and I think I can do that. So I hope to see you guys then to talk about Thursday night football and hopefully some other topics, maybe some more baseball. But ladies and gentlemen, I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace, love, and positivity always, y'all. See you.